All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the weekly home workshop. I'm Terry with the Tailored Realty team. Every Wednesday at 12:15, we spend just about 15 minutes breaking down real estate topics for buyers, sellers, and homeowners. It's simple, practical, and easy to understand. If you're joining us live, thanks for spending part of your lunch break with us. If you're catching the replay, you're also in the right place. So let's go ahead and jump into today's topic: home inspections. What matters and what doesn't? So, and again, this does apply to buyers and sellers, but we really want to see what inspections really are in the home buying process. Quite frankly, even if you're, and I'll talk about this a little bit more at the end, if you're a homeowner, um, we'll discuss that, but probably every 3 to 5 years, we'll discuss why it would be a good idea to have a home inspection done. But first of all, what are inspections? In the home buying process, inspections are really their information. And what you're doing is you're getting an informational report because of one thing. And what do you think that is? The one thing we can say about every home is that none of them are perfect. There is no perfect home. So these inspections provide information to you, the buyer, if you are in the middle of purchasing the home, or the seller, because there are some pre-sale inspections. So before your house, pre-listing inspections. Before you list your house and go on the market, you can have inspections done just to kind of see where you stand and what it is. So, what it's like in the home as far as things that you can't see and haven't taken a look at in a while. And honestly, the goal for a home inspection is clarity. You want clarity on your purchase or your sale. You're not looking for perfection. Remember, an inspection is a tool, it's not a report card. So, and that's all we can do is take in the information that we're given, use it as a tool to make wise and informed decisions moving forward. So remember, inspections are informational. Uh, Remember, no home is perfect, and the ultimate goal of the home inspection is to gain clarity, not to find perfection. And quite frankly, like we just said, it's not a report card. So, in a home inspection, the question now becomes what does matter? What's important? Um, so whenever you're getting into the home buying process, there's going to be a time frame in most cases where there's a due diligence period. During that due diligence period, you can have any inspections done that you want. This is the buyer. Certainly, if you're going to list a property as a seller, you can list your property, but you can also have an inspection done prior to that, just to kind of give you an idea of what things might come up from the buyer side. But back to the question, what matters? Number one, the roof. Having a nice solid roof, free of any issues or major issues, is very important. A lot of times when you're purchasing your home, you're going to have to get that homeowner's insurance. And what the insurance companies are definitely going to look at is the age of the roof and the condition. So those are some things that you want to that do matter in an inspection. Foundation, the foundation that the home is built on, right? Those are some issues that can come up, and those are things that matter and they count. HVAC, which is the heating and air system. And let's just be real, we're here in South Carolina. It gets hot in the summer, and the one thing you don't want is a malfunctioning heating and air unit in your home. So again, these are the parts that do count and they do matter. Next, you've got your electrical and plumbing. Those are some major issues as well that you want to keep an eye on. Those are things that should pique your interest. Raise a flag if you see some major issues related to electrical and or plumbing issues. And then just downright safety issues. That's the purpose of a good home inspection. A home inspection will show you if there's anything wrong with any of those things: the roof, the foundation, heating and air, the electrical and plumbing, and if there are any safety issues like um, anything, whether it's a tripping hazard or loose Um, I, I've seen loose toilets. I've seen loose countertops. Anything that's a safety issue, you definitely want to pay attention to those kinds of things. So, what doesn't really matter, doesn't usually count when you're thinking about a home inspection? Cosmetic issues, we kind of want to stay away from those. In other words, these should be things that you can live with. Let's say, the sellers moved out or they got their stuff out, they got their home on the market, but you see that there's some nail holes in the wall where they had pictures hanging. Those are cosmetic issues, things that can be, just spackled and a little touch-up paint. Minor wear and tear. Depending on the age of the home, there's going to be some minor wear and tear. Um, there may be a little bit older carpet or older fixtures or whatever. And speaking of older, there may be older systems that are still in the house, including, fixtures and heating and air or refrigerator or stove. But if it's older and it's still working, then that's not really a major issue. And don't forget, old doesn't always mean bad. I know a lot of old timers, including myself, think that the way things were built, as we say back in the day, they were built to last. Honestly, I even know my mother, and I think she still has it. The refrigerator from my childhood to youth is still in her garage operational. She's using it as a secondary refrigerator, but it still works. So old doesn't always mean bad. So these cosmetic issues, these things usually don't, they don't count as big ticket items. And quite frankly, you don't want to mess up a deal if it's something that you really want over cosmetic issues. Now, don't get me wrong. You can ask for whatever you want. When it comes to inspections and you get your inspection reports back, those are things that you can ask for. You can certainly ask for cosmetic issues, but how should you really respond to an inspection report? What should you do when the home inspector or the roof or heating and air, termite inspector, whenever an inspector gives you a report back, how should you respond to this report? Well, as the buyer, the thing you want to do is you want to prioritize the big ticket items, anything that's safety related or one of the major systems related type issues, heating and air, electrical, plumbing, the ones that we listed. Prioritize those at the top of your list. And anything that we discussed or that you may know to be minor issues, right? Cosmetic type things, put those at the bottom. Avoid emotional reactions. Now, if you're a seller and you get back this inspection report, it almost can feel like you're being graded as a homeowner. Don't react emotionally when you get an inspection report back and there's a laundry list of things that are on there. Remember, the home inspector is a professional. His job is to find out what's going on with the property and what's wrong with it. And quite frankly, they do it so often they can see things that we just get used to and look beyond and look over. So just avoid emotional reactions if you're a seller. Avoid emotional reactions if you're a buyer. Remember, lean on the professional guidance from your real estate agent as well as your inspector to kind of help you understand what may be major items and what may be some things that can be dealt with later on down the road. So again, an emotional reaction can happen on both sides. I've seen inspection reports with as little as 7 or 8 items on them, and I've seen some with 50. Again, based on what is being reported, you can have the same reaction to both reports. Because if there's a lot of minor stuff, a lot of minor issues, but the home itself is still in relatively good shape, then again, it might be something you'd be willing to do. Also depends on what you're doing. Are you fixing and flipping? Are you an investor? Are you looking to live in the property? So it all depends on where you are in the process, what side of the ledger you're on, and exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish. But ultimately, the way you want to respond, hey, lean on the professionals, lean on their guidance. They've been doing this stuff for years. And quite frankly, we've seen it all. Be careful when you're doing your inspections. Be careful when you're doing your walkthroughs when you're looking at the properties, because a lot of times, let's just be real, there's some dishonest people out there, and they will try to get over on it. Now I know and this has a pretty happy ending, but we were showing a property one time, and so we were flipping lights on and looking at everything, and I was turning on faucets, and I noticed, I said, "Oh, the water's turned off." But this is a pretty renovated home. In other words, they'd updated everything pretty well, so it was basically a total renovation. A few parts were still left undone, but I looked at the property disclosures and I didn't see any issues with plumbing. So I went and turned the water on, and lo and behold, as we were turning the faucets on, trying to look at water pressure and things like that, I heard a leak. I heard running water somewhere, and the pipe had burst on the water heater. Not when I turned the water on, you could tell it was already there. Again, not accusing anyone. Maybe the plumber or one of the contractors was coming back to fix it later. Maybe they knew it was a leak and they just cut it off. You never know. We don't accuse anybody. All we do is deal with the issue that's in front of us. Even with that same property, one of the breakers was off, which seemed kind of fishy to me. I was like, why is this breaker off? So again, we won the contract, we got the bid, but those were items that we were going to look at. And the buyer went through with the sale. They purchased the home, but those things that came up in the home inspection, those were some of the big ticket items that we listed during the repair addendum when we sent the repair addendum to the seller. Seller didn't have any problem with it. There were no issues. All of our concerns were dealt with, and the homeowner is living there right now. So again, there are some happy endings to these stories, but just be aware um, of the need, number one, for a home inspection. You need an inspection when you're purchasing a property. We always highly recommend it, unless you're an inspector yourself. They're just things that you're not going to see. And inspectors are very thorough. They go in the attic, they go in the crawl space, they're looking at outlets, they're looking at everything. They're giving it a good once over. And you want somebody that's certified, that does this for a living. Can you get insights from an uncle that's a handyman or somebody that you know? Absolutely. But you want to rely on professionals, those that are certified, because whenever you present this to the seller and say, hey, these are some of the issues I'd like for you to deal with, they're looking to make sure that it's coming from a licensed professional. So in the long run, one of the things you should take away is that inspections protect you. They protect you from making a bad investment, or at the very least, they'll let you know what you're going to have to deal with up front. And when you're purchasing a home, perspective is everything. You want to have the right perspective on the decision that you're making. If you're a seller, again, inspections can protect you. That way you can fully disclose everything that you know about the property. And again, you can kind of anticipate what may be coming back from the buyer's side when you're listing your property. And as I mentioned in the beginning, as a homeowner, wouldn't you like to know that you've got a leak that can be fixed for $20 versus finding out that it's been leaking for 5, 10, 15 years, and now you have to repair your floor, replace cabinets, replace plumbing? A $20 fix can quickly turn into a home renovation project, and thousands of dollars are being spent. So a recommendation to homeowners is try to schedule something at least every 5 or 10 years. If you yourself personally are going in the attic or going in the crawl space and laying your eyes on different systems on a regular, try to schedule that. And even if you are, you might want to consider just getting a professional to take a look at it for you. At the end, I'm going to put up a QR code because we do have a segment called Tailored Talks, where we do interviews with people in the community. And one of our segments dealt with a home inspector. So we did an interview with a home inspector, and take a look at that. You can get their perspective. Our 15 minutes is almost up. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use it. And remember, whether you're buying, selling, or just planning ahead, once you're a client, always your friend. We'll see you next Wednesday at 12:15 for the weekly home workshop. And now I'm going to put up that QR code to the episode where we interviewed the home inspector. See you next week.